Welcome to the Let's Stay Healthy radio show, sponsored and brought to you by Montana Harvest Natural Food Store in Billings, Montana. If you don't spend time on your wellness, you're going to be forced to spend time on your illness. Your health is your most valuable asset. Invest in it by tuning in now.
Welcome, everybody, to Let's Stay Healthy. This is Michael Ray with Montana Harvest. I'm here with Kimmy and Oliver from Montana Harvest, and today we have a special guest on with us. We're really excited to have Troy Casey, a certified health nut. And so we're going to have a lot of fun, and has a lot of knowledge and does a lot of new things and different things. And I was impressed with your 9 pillars of health. So I know you'll talk about some of that stuff. But with that said, Kimmy, do you want to add anything?
I'm just excited to have you on. I've looked at your program for other individuals to become a certified health nut, but I wanted to kind of break it in with your history. And you've been doing this for 35 years. So how'd you get started in the health and wellness industry?
So I was, thanks for having me on, by the way. Super happy to be here and share anything about health these days. So I started out, I was a Versace model. I was in Milan, and I had my own digestive issues, and I knew nothing about nutrition or food or herbs or any of that stuff. And I got into whole food eating. There was farmers markets at the when I was living in Italy, and I had never been to a farmer's market. So I started eating real food, got instant results. I read a book called Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss. It's an 1840s heirloom, family heirloom. And it had a lot of information about herbalism, enemas, fasting. And I came home to the United States. I bought a juicer. I did my first 10-day juice cleanse, and I've been hooked on nutrition, herbalism, juicing, and fasting for 35 years now.
That's awesome. And you also have a program where people can become certified health nuts too. Right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'm creating an army of wellness warriors out there to get the world healthy. And statistically, 75% of the American people are obese or overweight. We've got 1 in 2 will get cancer. Diabetes is at all-time high. Suicide amongst men and children 14 to 21 is the number 2 killer for children 14 to 21. And so that's an aborted mission. And so I'm here to get the world healthy, plain and simple.
That's awesome. Well, one of the things that I was super excited to discuss with you, because I know you practice it, and I kind of wanted to introduce it to our listening audience, and that is your own perfect medicine, which is urine therapy.
Yes, and that is, people like that for clickbait, and it's very interesting. I've been practicing it for 25 years myself. And so it's an ancient practice. It's in the Vedic scriptures, as well as there's a book called The Water of Life, J.W. Armstrong. There was a prime minister in India who got sick in his 70s, and someone turned him on to urine therapy, and he became an extreme advocate for it and died in his 90s. And so it's an ancient technique. I don't promote it as much as people want to talk about it. Like, I'm not a huge proponent of like, hey, you need to do this, because the mental hurdle is pretty steep. And so, but I've been practicing it for the past 25 years. The research shows that it has stem cells, cell salts, antigens, antibodies, amino acids, hormones, and it helps you build your own testosterone. So for me, it's very important that I stay healthy in this very toxic world. We've got billions of pounds of toxic compounds pumped into the environment every year since the dawn of the industrial age. And so we've got things like herbicides like glyphosate and phthalates and fragrance, and these are affecting the hormones of the human being to the point where we're in a fertility crisis right now, and testosterone amongst men is plummeting. And I think this is very important. As an American, I like to uphold the safety and security of this nation, and I think we have become a country of pushovers. And so, and it starts with the nutrition, the hormones, the toxicity in our environment. And to stand up, we must reclaim our soil, reclaim our food, reclaim our divinity through our health.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because my grandma, she was a huge advocate for urine therapy when I was like in high school and college, and she was talking about it. I'm like, okay, my grandma's either onto something or she's going a little crazy. But she was promoting it for everything and like, talking about drinking it and drinking your morning urine mid flow, and then also using it topically for acne, for the stem cells. And so there's multiple uses for it. And there's some people that promote aged urine.
Yes, I've been doing aged urine for many years myself and topical, and I've heard many um, anecdotal stories of people healing their eczema, psoriasis, acne, gut issues, pain in the body. When I put the aged urine on my body, I can instantly feel a mood lift and any aches and pains in my body. I'm 60 this year. And so I go to the gym quite often. And so if I have muscle soreness, tightness, cramps, etc., I can put that on my skin, rub it into my muscles, and I feel much better immediately.
That's amazing. Yeah, my grandma had she was a big gardener, and so she would have sore knees at the end of the day, and she talked about rubbing it in on her knees with some castor oil, some urine, and it worked for her. So I thought that this was very fascinating because we're always trying to outsource health when a lot of times, we have it within us to help heal the body.
Well, I'd also like to point out that the porta potty companies, they harvest the urine from men's urinals and they sell it back to the pharmaceutical companies that clean it with toxic chemicals, and then they make a synthetic version of urea and put it in creams and other medicines for people. So, again, you mentioned it's your own perfect medicine. I think there's a book called that as well. And, um, that's what the anecdotes show. And then what do we have physically with the pharmaceutical companies? Well, they're making drugs out of our own urea.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot to say with taking it and outsourcing from other people and then what your body is producing for you and your own stem cells. Because, I mean, stem cell therapy is another thing where they're taking the umbilical cord stem cells or from other, babies, and they're taking those and injecting them
Where are they getting
into.
that? Where are they getting those babies?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one a thing that people should be aware of when they're looking into stem cell therapy is your body produces them and it's coming out in your urine.
And it's free, as opposed to and not only is it free, but it comes from you. What uh, is there going to be tissue rejection if you're paying thousands of dollars for somebody else's stem cells? And so, look, nature has all the solutions. Nature has all the answers. And death is a part of life. I think people are afraid of dying, but the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, they talked about memento mori, accepting your death and then living a life worth living, and then getting back to nature in as many facets as possible. And so, the food is thy medicine. That is what the founder of modern day medicine, Hippocrates, said, a third century BC philosopher. And so let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food. We used to hunt and gather. What were we hunting? Grass fed ruminants, right? There's an omega 3, 6, and 9 balance in grass fed, sequestered sunlight into the grasses through chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is a match for your hemoglobin. It rebuilds your red blood cells. So you want to be eating grass-fed ruminants and or greens that are bioavailable. And so you want to get back to basic nutrition. And we've gotten so far away from it with this commercialized food, pesticide, herbicide, artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, um, sugars, corn syrup, all this ultra processed foods that is affecting us. And of course, look at what's happening politically. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, we now live in a world where the health secretary is talking about the gold standard of science. We've been lied to for generations, right? We've been lied to for decades on both the vaccines that just came out last week. They Trump and Kennedy are lowering the vaccine requirements. They're still basing it on the gold standard of science, and then they flipped the food pyramid. And so, getting back to nature, right? Food was grass-fed ruminants, and then roots, barks, berries, herbs, whatever we could harvest. And you're up in Montana and the prairies. Think about it. 100 years ago, there were no pharmacies. There were no hospitals, doctors, etc. You had to get your medicines out of the bush. And so the herbalism or home remedies, hydrogen peroxide, apple cider vinegar, baking soda, borax, these things were healing remedies. And we've just gotten so far away from that in a small amount of time, couple of generations. And nature has the solutions for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on our radio show is because you live and breathe and practice these things. You're 60 years old and you look amazing. You don't look 60 to me. And so that's a testimony to you taking care of your body, which we've become so distant in our society is nobody prioritizes their health, but health is your greatest asset.
Well, health is wealth. I mean, it's a reason why that rhyme rings so true, right? The truth has a certain level of ring to it. And people don't really understand this until they get sick, right? I work with a lot of high-powered entrepreneurs and executives, and what happens is they subjugate their health to get the monetary wealth. However, when they lose their health, they spend all their wealth trying to regain it. And there's been research done. People, when they get to the end of their life, they don't talk about their materialism, their trinkets. They talk about the relationships that they have. And if they just had a few more minutes to spend with their children, their grandchildren, etc. And so value that now, take that research now and take your health to the next level. Take your health seriously. I was able to, as an entrepreneur, I consider myself time rich. I was able to be a stay-at-home father. I started my entrepreneurial journey when I was 40, but all my work was designed so that I had a lifestyle to A, stay healthy myself, and then be with my children, not farming them out to nannies or other people to take care of my children. And now my children are older. I'm here to tell people as well, my son was born in water in my living room. I delivered him. He wasn't circumcised and he wasn't vaccinated. And he's never, ever been to a medical doctor for a wellness visit.
That's incredible. And how old is your son?
He's 18. He's a high performance hockey player.
That's awesome. We were just talking about hockey and how that's one of the toughest sports. He's got a son who plays hockey.
Much respect. Hockey dad's in the house.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah, I mean, just going on to birth in general, I mean, that never used to be a medical procedure, and we've turned it into one. And tons of cesareans, emergency cesareans, they want to induce labor because a lot of times that's more convenient for the doctor rather than letting the woman naturally labor and birth. So yeah, I had my last baby who's 2. She was born at home. And no medical emergencies, no issues. She's been extremely healthy. And I feel like we've lost touch with nature. And I feel like a lot of individuals are waking up to that. And now's the time to bring us back to nature.
Correct. And that's a big part of what my program is about, whether people become coaches underneath me or they just become students and want to get their health to the next level. I have the 9 pillars of health. There's nothing new under the sun. All these biohacking companies have gimmicks and gadgets and drugs and peptides and steroids and all these things to try and get you healthy or thin. But there's a price behind those syringes and injections with peptides, etc. And so we need sunlight. We need grounding. We are electromagnetic beings, electricity from the sun and grounding from the earth. And so we need food and nutrition. It's what builds our eyeballs and our spinal cords and our nose hairs and replicates our cells and our heart over long periods of time. So the nutrition should be pure. We are mostly water. We're 70% water. It's a good idea to get a pure source of water. The solution to pollution is dilution. And so having a pure source of water is very important. The body requires sleep. And so there's been lots of research on sleep hygiene, circadian rhythms. And it's a good idea to get in bed around 10 to 6 a.m. Those are good parameters. The body is the pump for the purpose of exercise is to move the lymphatic fluids, and the pump is the transverse abdominis, the diaphragm, and the pelvic floor. So it's essential for the body to move. I teach people about movement all the time, and I do all sorts of strength training, but I tell people walking is the best exercise for the human body. And I have a handful of very simple exercises, including the Zen swing, that can get people healthy if they do it consistently over long periods of time. And they don't need high intensity workouts. And so we're in relationship with everyone and everything. It's a good idea to make peace, have gratitude and forgiveness for everyone and everything, right? And so these are basic fundamental principles: thinking, breathing, moving, sleeping, eating, drinking. And so getting back to these basic fundamental principles, people don't need the fancy stuff until these nature-based principles are covered.
I love that approach.
Well, I mean, you're leading into your 9 pillars of health, and then you have some detox things that you do too. So I don't know if I can change the world, but I can certainly learn from people who have knowledge and protect myself and my family. But I was really impressed with those because those are a lot of things that I do and that I believe in. So maybe you could go into greater detail on that.
Yeah, well, Gandhi said, become the change you wish to see in the world. People ask me all the time because I'm a big Save the Planet guy. I came out of the Amazon working with an herbal company 26 years ago, put all that exotic footage and documentary footage up on my YouTube. That's how I got started in social media. And so I'm helping guide people back to their own real estate. If we all just take care of our own real estate, we'll realize we're in symbiotic relationship to the real estate around us. And so you may want to clean up your side of the street. And so when we start adhering to these principles, basic fundamental principles, it becomes simple and easy and non-negotiables. I also recommend, men understand their purpose, their legacy, or their dream, right? You could just have a dream of maybe losing weight or getting healthier or getting fit or that type of thing. Where there is no vision, the people will perish. So it's a good idea, especially for young men, to have a vision. I think having a family and rearing children is job number one. And so I'm not a sexist or anything, but I think holding having children up on a pedestal, I think, is very important for the future of humanity. And so, and moms have that innate nature inside of them. And so men definitely need a purpose and a drive. And that's the first pillar that I have. Then everything falls behind that. High quality nutrition, high quality water, good sleep, movement every day, etc. These are the 9 pillars: nature, sunlight, grounding. These are the 9 pillars. These are the basics. Then once you have the basics covered, you understand that you're living in a toxic environment. It's a good idea to assist the body in its cleanse and detoxification processes. And so the same food that you eat, as Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine, is the same food that nourishes you and detoxifies you at the cellular level. And so I work with a herbal and superfood company that's been around for 35 years. We source organic herbs and superfoods. We have wheatgrass farms in Utah on volcanic ash beds. So getting vitamins, minerals, and enzymes, micronutrition into your body is very important. We also have parasite herbs to clean out your body a couple times a year. We've got minerals that detox heavy metals. And so I've helped over 60,000 people with this program. And so we have the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation to help people clean out their bodies, feel and look their best. My average client that does the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation loses 25 pounds in the first 30 days. Most of that is inflammation and water weight. And so cleaning out the body, I've got 35 years of that behind me, and I'm living testament to the cleanse and detox protocols.
I'm curious what your number one detox, like starting out, would be for the average individual.
So I like juice fasting because it floods the body with deep nutrition. The Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation program that I have has pre-digested amino acids, super clean amino acids, the building blocks of life, that make the cleanse the only anabolic organic cleanse on the market. I started out with juice fasting, so not most people aren't ready for an extended water fast or even a dry fast, which is the penultimate of cleansing. Most people need nutrition. They need nourishment because of what's been done to the food supply, not only the ultra processed foods, but even the animals are being fed grain. The animals are supposed to be fed grass. And so feeding the animals grain actually makes sick animals, and then we eat them. And if they're on CAFO factory farms, they're being injected with antibiotics, etc. And this all affects the human being. You want regenerative, organic, grass-fed, animals, these types of things, real, natural, high-quality food. The quality of food is directly related to the quality of life that you lead. And so our superfoods and herbs are all super high quality. Our herbs target parasites, wormwood, black walnut hull, clove, etc. Age-old herbal formulas. We have herbal formulas for the skin, hair, and nail, the heart, the joints. We have vitamin C from nature, Linus Pauling. There's been 2 Nobel laureates for the effects of vitamin C on the human body, but most of it's coming from ascorbic acid. That is coming from GMO corn. So you got to watch all the supplements and everything that you put in your body. Everything that I work with is raw food, whole food, real food presentation, dried and dehydrated herbs and superfoods. And so when you put this into your body, it gives your body the energy to naturally detoxify. And so greens are wheatgrass, spirulina, activated barley. These things greens naturally transmute toxicity and radiation and flood the body with oxygen and flood the cells with oxygen. So it allows your body to replicate its cells and detoxify the body at a natural level. So it's always happening. The same foods you're eating should be working on your detoxification pathways.
What are your thoughts on taking chlorophyll?
Well, again, back to chlorophyll, this is sequestered sunlight. And so it is manufactured through photosynthesis in its plant blood. And plant blood has an exact same match to your hemoglobin, which is your red blood cells. It takes 120 days to rebuild your red blood cells and 6 to 9 months to regenerate your organs. So chlorophyll and chlorophyll-rich foods and or grass-fed ruminants, right? That back to the grass-fed, the animals are eating that chlorophyll, that sequestered sunlight, that energy that's converted into their muscle meats and their organ meats. And so chlorophyll, I work with a company, a superfood company. It's a green superfood company that's chlorophyll rich. So we have cracked chlorella, spirulina, wheatgrass, activated barley. We have freshwater and saltwater algae, kelp, bladderwhack, everything that you need that's bioavailable, superfoods. The Asians have been eating kelp and bladderwhack and dulse and other types of seaweed for a very long time. And so we've created a whole company around that. And so I encourage people to drink their vegetables, right? drink their superfoods. So you get 6 servings of fruits and vegetables in our Power Shake, for example, all organic, all pesticide and herbicide free. So chlorophyll is what you want. It's sequestered sunlight. I also recommend getting sunlight. And chlorophyll rich plants have beta carotene and carotenoids in it. There's 400 elements of beta carotene that you want to get in your body. These are antioxidants. They're going to protect you against the sun. But one of the first forms of nutrition is sunlight. Oxygen is the second form, right? Or one without the other. But you can get energy from the sun. You can boost your testosterone if you get naked sunlight on your body. And so just think how amazing you look and feel when you have a tan. And so again, we've been guided away from the sun, the source of all life on planet Earth, and told to slather these chemicals all over our body. And then what statistics do we have from this nonsense? 70% of the American people are obese or overweight. 1 in 2 will get cancer, autoimmune issues through the roof. And so I go in the opposite direction of whatever the commercial conduits are promoting. And lo and behold, again, Kennedy and Trump just overturned the food pyramid and the vaccine schedule. So a lot of this science was really just scientism to sell you a product.
Yeah, like the seed oils.
Correct.
Go ahead, Michael.
I got a question about, you talk about breath is life, and we know that, but you say that it's a form of nutrition. Could you explain that in a deeper detail?
Well, oxygen, let's just look at sunlight, oxygen, water, and food, right? Those are all forms of nutrition. Without sunlight, there's no life on Earth, right? And if you look at all the research from Dr. Jack Kruse, sunlight and the activation of melanin inside the body, activation of melanin through sunlight opens up your detoxification pathways and allows your cells and your mitochondria to function optimally. No sunlight, no life on Earth. So you can get direct nutrition, energy, electricity through the sunlight, right? I get tan most of the year, right? I'm an Irish guy, and I've activated my cellular structure by getting as much sun as possible without burning my skin, right? That's always the addendum. And I do that through the antioxidants that I have. The second is oxygen. If you don't have oxygen, within 3 to 5 minutes, you are dead. And so oxygen is a form of nutrition. It transports energy through the body, through to the cells. And I teach people how to breathe properly, breath work. And so your overall respiration, how your diaphragm works, how open you can get your lungs breathing into your belly, etc., how well your overall diaphragm and your lungs work is directly related to cellular respiration. Cellular respiration affects the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, the energy centers of the cell, and how you exchange energy with ATP. And so sunlight, oxygen, these things all affect you at the cellular level. And you are made up of 75 trillion cells. And so I teach breath work and do yoga, and you can actually get a whole body workout by oxygenating your cells, doing breath work, right? 5 to 10 minutes of breath work, and you totally activate all 73 trillion cells. You couple that with jumping in an ice bath, and again, you're working out all the cells, and that's like 15 minutes worth of work if you do it right? Get in and out of the ice bath, do a little breath work before then. You feel like you have a whole body workout, and you haven't even touched food, right? And then you add to it water. We're mostly water, so it's a good idea to have pure water in the body. And there's not too much artesian well structured mineral rich water supplies anymore. We're all getting it from the tap. So sourcing pure water and understanding how to structure it and mineralize it is important. But your main mineralization comes from the nutrition and the food that you have. So it's very important to have grass-fed ruminants that are eating grasses on soil that is beneficial. You've got the poop that's going in there, and you've got the microbes and the paramagnetic rocks and the nematodes, and everything's turning the soil, and the soil's living and live, and it's sequestering sunlight from with the paramagnetic rocks, and the microbes are breaking those up, and they're feeding them to the plants or the grasses, and then the animals are eating it. And this is a functional, high energy system. And we've gotten away from it, and we've gotten into this mechanistic, Newtonian, Cartesian, this for that science, but that's not the way the life works. Tesla said to understand the universe is to understand energy, vibration, and frequency. And so we are all energy. And so just getting something on the shelf with a caloric um, value attached to it doesn't mean it's got the proper energy to give you the life force that you want to be alive. People watch my videos and they're like, what are you on, dude? And it's like, well, I'm on energy, the same thing you're on. Like, where are you getting your energy from? I get it directly from the sun. I get it directly from the earth. And so I get it from the source, not shoveling displacement foods in my body that's bogging down my liver, which has over 900 functions, my kidneys, and gumming up my blood. And then I'm asking, like, what's wrong with me? Well, I've gotten away from nature, or said another way, got away from God, right? God is nature. God is all of these components. And I know that starts to get into the philosophy, but what else is God if it's not the creations of nature? We are part of that creation. And so can we honor the body temple that we have been born into? Or do we disregard that? Do we disregard God's creations? And the earth that we live in? Like, what's wrong with, like, respecting the earth? You guys live in places that probably have small towns. You have a river next to you, or a lake. What if the corporation just starts putting the poison in the groundwater? Maybe they've got one of these new AI supercomputer companies, and they have to take all the water from the local municipalities, and then they're putting the poisons back in the water. And people don't even realize this, but Kennedy, they want to lambast him politically. He's been a consumer advocate fighting these corporate polluters for years and taking these corporate polluters to task. But we as citizens, we should be awakened. Like, what is this industry going to do to my little small town? What is, do we really want a supercomputer and to remove that mountaintop over there, and then take all the water, and then use all these resources and decimate the land? You know, we got to put two and two together. Anyways, I'm getting far away, but I'm a big picture guy. As above, so below. How do we expect the world to be healthy if we are not healthy ourselves? And sunlight, nutrition, water, and oxygen are very important if you're going to optimize and have energy into your 60s, right? And be alive and look alive.
Hey, I got a question for you about water.
Yeah.
You talked about structuring water. And I've had a lot of conversations with people about structuring water. I want to get your idea, your science on structuring water, using structured water.
So the water structures going through the earth over rocks, so it picks up minerals and goes through in vortexes. If you look at a stream, there'll be little vortexes over rocks or waterfalls, and it aerates the water. So that's happening underneath the earth. And we used to have spring-fed, water, and it was more pure. Now we have municipal water supplies that goes through pipes and has chlorine and fluoride in it, which rightfully so. We don't want bacteria in it as well. However, like the Romans discovered later on, their aqueducts were made out of lead. Like, that's not the best idea, right? Especially if we're mostly water and we're putting in chlorine and fluoride into the human body. Like, what does that do? A rudimentary search on ChatGPT will show you that that is potentially harmful, especially to your pineal gland, which can calcify, and fluoride's rat poison. And so purifying your water is a good idea. You can distill it You can get reverse osmosis, which is filtration water. That's a good idea. You can also source findaspring.com. You can source spring-fed water, um, and then you can take your municipal water supply, purify it, and then you can spin it. There's a couple of vortex machines on the market. What I encourage people is to become a water snob and let it shake out however you want. I work with a lot of scientists and people that make products. My friend Dr. Ryan Jones used to work with Patrick Flanagan. Patrick Flanagan worked with the CIA as a teenager. He was smart. He was building rocket ships when he was a teenager. And so Patrick Flanagan figured out how to create structured water with microclusters, and then those microclusters would structure the water around it. Dr. Emoto preyed on water and also impregnated it with negative inputs and took pictures of the structure of water. And you can see his work online as well. So water can be affected and structured. And so this is one product. I also, on my superfood store, we have Aqua Vibrance that does something similar to this. So you drop a few drops in your water to structure your water. You could try the Aqua Vibrance. I have a vitalizer at home. I also have a distillation machine. And I also have a machine that puts hydrogen in the water, the smallest antioxidant known to man. And so become a water snob, and then tickle your water how easy it is for you to not become neurotic, right? Because we can become neurotic over these things, and neurosis is a mental disorder, and that can mess up your life. So don't go in that direction. That's not going to help with your health. But be mindful of your water and source the best, cleanest water that you can and structure it. I like the vortex because that's the way it's structured in nature. How do you structure your water?
Well, we have John Ellis water that I personally really believe in. What do you think about it? Because they changed the hydrogen bond angle and it becomes very, very pure. And it increases the electricity in the water itself, where it becomes very powerful.
It takes the heavy hydrogen molecule out, the deuterium. So it's
Oh,
deuterium depleted water.
oh, that's fantastic. Well, yeah, send me the information on that. I'd like to check that out because deuterium depleted water is very important. How does he do it? Does he do it chemically or
It's a
electrically?
mechanical process that he's designed over the years. He was a hydrologist, like engineer. He heats it up and cools it, heats it up and cools it over 100 times, so it starts changing the hydrogen bond angle starts reversing the polarity, makes it small. The hydrogen falls off, and it becomes very electrically charged. It's like almost getting a nitric oxide shot.
And so, how long have you been taking this water?
Just internally, I just put it in a glass and drink it.
I think since what, 2018, 2019 is when we brought the machines and we make it in the store. So it goes through our reverse osmosis system first, and then it goes through the John Ellis machines because we wanted to start with a pure water. And it's funny because I just had our filters changed at home yesterday with RO system, and I had him use his TDS meter, and the tap water was at 285 parts per million. And before he changed the filters, it was at, with my RO system, 17 parts per million.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and so I've been using RO living in the cities for many years, and then structuring it with the devices. I have a vitalizer, and then and I also use ionic minerals. But the deuterium depleted water, that is the next level. How long's this scientist been working on it?
I don't know.
He's in his 90s.
Yeah, he's probably 95 or something now. His son's taking over the company, but we were exposed to it and bought it, brought it in, and we all thought it was crazy, but till we saw the effects of it, healing and energy and good health, and we saw amazing things, and so we bought the machines and started selling it in our store to help people's health, not so much to make money because we sell it at a pretty economical price for what you're actually getting. And it's the most powerful water, cleanest water I've ever drank in my life.
And so, how
so
much is
far.
that machine? How much does that machine retail for?
2,800.
Okay, that's not
Yeah.
that bad.
And they're up in New York.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's where the machines are made and they're made per order. But we have three machines running practically all day long. And you do have to clean them. But if you hook it up to your RO system, you don't, it's like lower maintenance. You don't have to clean all the calcium buildup, mineral buildup on the machines themselves, which we ran into in the beginning. And then we hooked it up to our RO system, which it's a commercial RO system. So, it's set up for it and then we sell it. But looking at the Japanese scientist Imato, we know that water can restructure other water.
Right. Right.
And so people can dilute the John Ellis water with RO water and it will restructure it. So you don't have to drink it pure, just John Ellis water. You can dilute it. And then that way for cost purposes, because we charge $5.95 a gallon, which is extremely low for deuterium depleted water. If you go
Yeah.
online, it's like $50 a gallon.
Yep.
It will
Yep.
actually neutralize chlorinated water. So people that are drinking chlorination, those types of water, they can put it in their body or they can do it with their water, which you'd be better off just to drink the water. But it actually neutralizes it because of the hydrogen bond angle that's been changed from whatever water is, 101 to 114. And one of the biggest causes of water issues now, and you've went over a lot of them, is that many years ago, the hydrogen bond angles were high, but because of all the pollution, chemicals, all the things that goes through it, lowers the hydrogen bond angle. So when you're drinking chlorinated water, I mean, he probably don't even have one.
Yeah. Wow. Water's such an important topic. And you said that other waters can structure bigger bodies of water. I mean, that's what Patrick Flanagan, Dr. Ryan Jones, and I know David Sandoval created with aqua vibrance. In the literature for aqua vibrance, he calls it was it fluctuating. It off gases the fluoride and the chlorine bonds. I forget how it's explained. I hadn't heard that word. I just read it on the literature the other day. And so, look, I think miracles are going to come. There are smarty pants people that are out there. Um, Dr. Ryan Jones also turned me on to a product that he manufactures called lauricidin. Have you ever heard of this? It's
Oh,
monolaurin. It comes from
oh yeah,
coconut oil.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, and they manufacture the original patent from the doctor that discovered. He's not a doctor, he's a chemist. He worked for 3M, and it's a coconut oil derivative. And coconut oil can be like an emulsifier. And so it breaks the envelope or the cell wall of viruses. I think all the big ones. Um, I don't know what you can mention on the show, but I use it. I had mold and was vaccine injured, and I have all sorts of issues, and so it helps with pathogens in the immune system, and I just think that there is some really good, intelligent people out there, and I have faith that when we rectify this death wish that we have on this planet, that these type of healing technologies will come on and things will happen swiftly.
Well, I like what you said because don't you think that, God, he created everything, he created us, but he'll send people that he's created to restore and help people to get to that point to where they're ready to be with him.
Yes, positively or negatively, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I just listened to a gal talking about this and she's been studying the Bible and everything, but it had just dawned on her and I can't remember if it was in Daniel, but she said God told us how to heal the body by fasting and prayer. And of course, by, using the fruits of the earth to heal. And it's all right there, but we've overcomplicated health and think that we need a pill for this and a pill for that, like it's a deficiency, when really we are deficient in our essential nutrients and amino acids because we've gone away from the way that cows are meant to be raised instead of, grazing in the fields. They're in feedlots and they're not eating the foods that they're meant to eat. And so then people became afraid of eating red meats and and everything's backwards. But I think people are waking up to that and they're going back to their roots and like hopefully listening to people like you and this show that it will resonate and people will start tuning in and making those lifestyle changes.
Absolutely. And I think the disease and discomfort that we're having is a catalyst for the awakening. And so there's so many convoluted elements. And is it a conspiracy theory? Are people really evil? Is this just Satan at work? Okay, all right. But also, isn't the scriptures talk about the seven deadly sins, and greed is one of them? So maybe it's just a bunch of greedy business people being like, well, we can make millions of dollars if we just poison the water and poison the food and get people to buy the solution in our little harmful little drugs here, our synthetic applications. And so, and if you look at the dualistic aspect that you can look at it philosophically many ways, and you got to watch it because I know people are, they have religious ideals and stuff, but we have two forces that are guiding everything: masculine, feminine, inhalation, exhalation, up, down, dark, white, black, white. And so, is the bad awakening us? Is it making us go towards the light? Well, it does for me. I am like committed to like, okay, I've had enough problems with, going in the wrong path in life. And I only want to go on the straight and narrow. Like that's all I want. Right. And that's my whole mentality is about creating peace and harmony inside of myself and navigating this world without being jaded and angry and judgmental. Right. And so that is the tough spiritual path, but I do believe it's completely attainable. And I think all the ancient scriptures say it is.
Well, when you really look at it, I mean, we're influenced by two forces like what you're talking about, good and evil. And there is this awakening, I believe, that's happening because the light is drawing his creation back to him so that they can sustain what he created for them in the beginning. And so we've just let attitudes and greed and corruption and all these things take us over. We were never created like that. We were created to stand and overcome them. And I think that you're just seeing a movement of the Spirit of God doing that in His people, where they're going to become strong and stand in the truth and say no to all these vaccinations and all the things that they do. I mean, there's like, they go on and on and on and on. And so you're just seeing people that are getting on board with God who created us, the divine, I call it the divine design, because that's what we really are. We're becoming
Yes.
aware of that because we're being awakened spiritually, because we're tired of seeing our loved ones and people and the innocent die from things that man is creating and killing them because of their deception from Satan, from evil. You can call it anything you want.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, and I love what you said about finding that forgiveness, because it's one thing to be aware of all of the deception that has happened and the billions of dollars that have people have made on other people's sicknesses and diseases and health ailments, and people are profiting off of that, and it's sad.
Oh, yeah.
But finding that forgiveness and not holding those grudges, because then we know that is extremely detrimental to our health, and finding that love and peace. And then that spreads, because that good energy and that light that we emit, it's contagious and it spreads. And like even your energy that you have on the show and talking about, well, you can be 60 and have all this energy. It's because you are getting sustainable energy and nutrients from your diet and lifestyle.
Well, and the energy behind that too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
The Holy Spirit, baby.
Amen. 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 I
I
like
I
you
do.
already.
Thanks, brother. I do want to point out, guys, because there is some clandestine stuff that's going on, and people are like, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory." Well, James O'Keefe from the O'Keefe Media Group OMG, used to be Project Veritas. He was in Davos, and what he found out is they are using the climate control and the chemtrails and the spraying of us as a business model. This is a business model for these billionaires at Davos. And so he just uncovered, he does the guerrilla journalism where he goes undercover, and he's got people from Pfizer in the past and the DNC and the government to admit the wrongs that they've been doing. He's a phenomenal guy to follow along. But literally, they're spraying stuff in the skies that is affecting the crops, that's affecting our bloodstream, that's affecting the light coming through now. And that's all being exposed in real time. Just on the last 24 hours, James O'Keefe in Davos.
Wow.
Well, and you talked about the AI centers. There's one that they want to potentially put up in Lavina, which is a very small town outside of where we are located. And unfortunately, that's where one of our best sources of grass-fed certified organic meat comes from. And they want to put an AI center out there. So these are things that people need to be aware of and hopefully be able to stop before it's in process, because then that's when we're in trouble.
So I've seen a vision many years ago, and it continues to come to me as truthful. And humanity makes it. We are going through a huge transformation right now. You've already seen the awakening of people that wouldn't even talk about this stuff before COVID, but they know through whether it's Bobby Kennedy's books on Fauci or the Wuhan virus. You know, people have woken up since COVID to, you know, what's going on. And now with the internet becoming so popular, they're also very keen on, okay, I'm not healthy. All right, who's this guy on the internet that's healthy? How do you follow this guy? Right? What's he doing? Oh, the politics are in my food, in my soil. So there's a huge awakening going on. And even having this conversation with you guys, we quickly turn to God and the Holy Spirit. There is even a higher energy in order to this. And this is the type of conversation that's opening people's minds and consciousness. And I do believe that we will reach critical mass very soon, and the consciousness will pop.
Amen.
Well, we're almost out of time, but it is an honor to have you on. And if people are interested in joining your program, how can they do that?
They can go to certifiedhealthnut.com or Certified Health Nut all over the internet. Certifiedhealthnut.com has my coaching programs. I do one-on-one, I do group, and I also have an online community where we do silent meditations, and I have my coaches teaching there, and I teach there a couple times a month as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if you want to say anything, Michael.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good to connect with you in the spirit.
I love that. Thank you, Michael. And so, and then just make sure that you have my address for my assistant, and I'll send you one of my books that I wrote a couple years ago, Ripped at 50, A Journey to Self-Love. And so
Awesome. Yeah.
I'll send that copy up to you guys. Just make sure Curtis has your address, and people can find that on Amazon.com. And if they don't have money, we'll give them the digital copy for free. No problem.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll be back on next weekend.
You're listening to the Let's Stay Healthy radio show, sponsored and brought to you by Montana Harvest Natural Food Store in Billings, Montana.